All right, and we are live. So glad to see some folks already in the chat with this new time, kind of shifting at last minute. I thought no one's going to show up, so it's nice to see there's a couple folks here. So Brian, thanks for joining as regular viewer, and William, nice to see you here from Ontario, Canada. So thanks for tuning in. I have not really been on YouTube lately. Just I'm working on my excuse me. I've been working on my Unify update with my Ubiquity rack. That's all coming in, and for a big video, I just reviewed a version of that this morning, and working on that video. So that should be coming, and then a bunch of other shorts coming in the next few days. So yeah, back at it. I had this idea a long time ago, and I don't know, maybe I would formalize this, but like I'm almost having an idea where I post 3 weeks and then have a research week where I don't post anything. And it's like, dedicated time to build out things and spend more time actually installing and testing stuff. Cause there's a balance of like, how much am I testing or making content and filming videos and all that stuff. So, we'll see. But we got a lot of exciting news to talk about today, but that's just to kind of clarify. That's been my main focus recently has been on just building out and testing new hardware, not actually making or publishing videos on it. So we'll be back to regularly scheduled stuff next week. Got a number of different things to talk about, but the first one I think is really cool that came out recently, although I have mixed thoughts on it, mixed opinions, which is this whole new CarPlay Ultra, right? So Apple announced this just recently with Aston Martin, and so we can go ahead and take a look at that. So CarPlay Ultra looks pretty cool with these new Aston Martin crossovers, the one they're mostly advertising with. But it just, I don't know why Apple's doing this, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand the reasoning behind wanting to take over so much of the car's infotainment, but it sure looks really cool. I mean, I'd love to play with one of these cars, obviously, but I don't see like practically why I'd want to get a car with this versus a car that doesn't have it. I love CarPlay itself, and definitely want that. And for example, a lot of CarPlay cars these days have some information from CarPlay in the around the speedometer, tachometer, like that area of the car. For example, my Honda has now playing on by the tachometer, and then if I have Apple Maps going, it has the directions right there on the speedometer. So I'm already getting a bunch of CarPlay outside of just the CarPlay screen, and so I don't understand like the attraction in this, but yeah, Apple announced it. Exciting new thing if it's something you're into. And certainly looks cool. So say hi to some more folks. We got some more folks joining. Saul, regular viewer, nice to see you here. From Hilton Head, yes, it's probably a little warmer there, although we're kind of getting a fake summer right now up in Illinois, although it's supposed to cool off next week. Video is a bit blotchy. Okay. Let's see. Adjusted my aperture there. Hopefully it's coming through okay now. But yeah. Yeah, I really hope the widgets in the main CarPlay screen come to regular CarPlay. Yeah, I do like, we've talked about in this live stream and other places too about Apple potentially expanding their widgets as something they might include in a smart home display down the road. And you can already do that to a certain extent with standby mode. Just put your iPhone in landscape on a MagSafe charger and you get those small widgets turned into little smart home display things. And I could see a similar thing going on with CarPlay. I agree. I think the idea of widgets technically is very flexible and very powerful, and that it's sort of like this. Even the ones, especially in that case, that are not interactive, right? You probably would want the interactive widgets in CarPlay, but to have something on the screen that's kind of pre-rendered Swift UI that then gets shown and could be shown in any number of places, I think makes a lot of sense. And so you could have information about your calendar or the weather, all kinds of other more customized things for what you want. And of course, if companies are already building that for the iPhone, there's a potential that it could just be shown in CarPlay too, although probably some regulations around that of what you can show in a vehicle and stuff. Apple's been pretty close about that with CarPlay, of course. Not everybody can just build a CarPlay app. So we'd have to see how that works out. Nice to see you, Moldvarpsen. Love the time. Good. Yes, Stefan, thanks for tuning in from Denmark. Yes, I know. I used to do live streams on Friday afternoons, and I had a contingent of folks over in Europe being able to tune in because it's your nighttime. Of course, when I moved my live streams to Thursday nights for a while, that did not work. So we'll see. This is probably the new time going forward for the foreseeable future is Friday afternoons. I know for some people it works better and other people it doesn't. So you can always watch the recording afterwards if you want to catch up on that. I think I needed to up my aperture on the camera, Brian. So thank you guys, both William and it's very blurry. Okay. Interesting. Is it focusing? Anyways, hopefully my video comes through okay. We do have some other exciting news to get to this week. I think one of the interesting sides of this time of year that happens is Apple's accessibility week. That they tend to have a bunch of press releases around accessibility for, I think it's Accessibility Awareness Day or week. And they make a bunch of announcements of new things coming to all their platforms. And I think it's a really cool idea to do this because it could easily get buried in all the other announcements around their developer conference coming up in June. But we do kind of get a sneak peek of some of the stuff that is coming in those releases. And sort of the first confirmation from Apple, of course, that those releases are actually going to, happen. So I'm going to share this page here. So this was Apple's Magnifier on Mac thing they came out with, which looks really cool. Again, these are not available yet, but they'll be coming in future software releases. I love all the different things that Apple's been doing with continuity camera as a way even to, more iPhones are coming out in the fall. Whether you upgrade then or not, I've tended to trade in my iPhones just to get the value out of that towards a new phone. But I think Apple is creating more and more reasons you might want to consider keeping around a slightly older phone with continuity camera. I mean, of course, Magnifier for Mac looks like a really cool use from the accessibility perspective. But one other one I wanted to call out is, I think I never really got to this on the channel. We'll talk more about some more tvOS features in a second, but Apple now has the ability to keep a iPhone permanently paired to tvOS as a camera. So if you like the idea of doing video chats on your Apple TV, you can use an iPhone paired to that Apple TV, and so it's more permanently paired and ready to go for any kind of video chat. And there are different MagSafe mounts. I've played with one or two in the past that kind of can stick to the back of your TV, or you could, there are a lot of different MagSafe mounting options. But it could be a fun way to make video chat on a big screen, especially if you have family further away from home. A lot of people have a TV for doing some kind of meeting at work if you go into an office, right? Like a conference room with a big TV for a video meeting. But at home, it's obviously you don't really have that setup, but to be able to put your family or people that live with you on the couch and then have other people on the big screen right there in the living room could be really fun. So just something to consider as well with iPhone. But going back to this, there's some really cool new Braille experiences and the like accessibility reader. This is the one that I think is a really interesting idea of the enhanced view with Apple Vision Pro, just because then as you're looking at something with Apple Vision Pro, like it can become much bigger and easier to see. And I could see that device becoming a lot more practical for a lot more people. I mean, a $3,500 headset isn't necessarily practical, but like have another use case that might actually be really valuable to some people to have that way to see things bigger. So one other thing, though, I wanted to call out is our friend in the chat, Brian Essler, has a really great blog over on Medium. So if you haven't checked out Brian's blog, Apple Home Insights, go check out Apple Home Insights. Very good writing about Apple and smart home tech in general, Brian had some really good points in here about what he would love to see Apple do to improve Siri for people who have a stutter. And I think there's, Brian has a lot of firsthand experience with that. And I just think that it's a really important area. And I know Apple's done some things in the past for stutter and just general other accessibility options on HomePod, but I think Brian brings up some really good points here, especially things like getting rid of the when Siri is getting rid of the when you prompt your HomePod. It can be kind of interfering with what you're trying to say and just not really ideal for everybody. So being able to like turn that off somehow. And I could see, again, there's a lot of accessibility settings that you might prefer, whether you need them for, for whatever reason you might need them for, right? Like I could see turning off the response because I find that annoying too. And I think it would be a nice customization thing and to put in accessibility. So yeah, and I think this other one too I wanted to mention is just like the extended voice training on setup. I know Apple's probably trying to make that as fast as possible, get people going with the HomePod, but to allow there to be more training optionally, I think would be really nice, especially for things like personal requests. I've had issues in the past with, as I've set up lots of different HomePods and other devices, like my personal request voice recognition of me has become a little bit iffy over time. And I think for any number of reasons, just being able to request multiple times, again and again, just go in the settings, hey, I want to do some more training of my voice on HomePod. I think that would be really nice. So, anyway, some good ideas in here. And also just, if you haven't already, check out Apple Home Insights over on Medium. And another thing, we were talking about Apple TV earlier. First, I'm going to say hi to some folks in the chat, and then we'll get back to some new Apple TV features that might have flown under your radar. Yes, it's Accessibility Awareness Day. Thank you, Brian. Yes, it's not the week. It's the announcements seem to like take over the news for the week. So I always just have it in my head of like, is it a week or is it a day? So Brandon, nice to see you here. Brandon's probably getting pulled around by his Yarbo right now in the wagon. If you've seen Brandon over on Instagram and other social media and some videos of him around the internet just getting pulled around, which is really, really funny. I love that, the Yarbo. So, hey, Jeff from Georgia, thanks for tuning in. That was a little bit earlier. Oh, yeah, good. Thanks, Jordan. So, yeah, Apple TV, and then we also have some Sonos news to get to. So, Apple TV, iOS or tvOS 18.5 recently came out, and we hadn't had a live stream to really talk about this, but I just want to call it out here that I think it's worth playing with more. And I haven't really reached any conclusions with this about if there's any really interesting like actual use cases for this. But I think it's great that Apple's continuing to build out their Dolby Atmos playback. And this is over AirPlay or Bluetooth, so you can do wireless audio sync to enhance your Dolby Atmos setup if you're using any of those speakers with your Apple TV. Of course, like the HomePods, but also any other speakers you use over AirPlay. So potentially, this could really have some legs in the future of like some of the early support from Apple for maybe a full-on proper Dolby Atmos setup with Apple speakers, right? Well, I mean, I should caveat that they already have that with a stereo pair of HomePods, and that's been true already. But what I mean by that is, compared to a lot of Dolby Atmos setups, you don't physically have rear speakers, right? And so you could potentially craft something together here with AirPlay, right, where you have rear HomePod minis, or a lot of surround sound speaker systems these days, it's 4 speakers about the size of a HomePod, right? So you could see a world where Apple has an option with Apple TV where you could have 4 HomePods in the 4 corners around your TV, and then get a much more surround sound feel than the Dolby Atmos you get from 2 HomePods, just because there's physically 2 speakers behind you, or to the rear sides of you. And I think that would be a really neat setup. And, this doesn't really seem to achieve that in the same way of like with HomePods paired to an Apple TV is more permanent than AirPlay, right? It's meant to be like, that's the speakers for the Apple TV. And but with Apple doing this kind of work in software, I'm hoping it's laying the ground for them to be able to do a feature like that in the future. But we'll see. But yeah, so that's iOS or tvOS 18.5, and otherwise kind of a sleepy update, but something interesting there. Of course, Apple's had a lot of stuff going on in the courts and things that I don't know if we really have time to get to here, but it's definitely been following all their App Store stuff closely. So Sonos is ending their partnership with IKEA. It's another thing that we didn't really have a chance to get to with our live streams being past weeks. I lose the ability to talk sometimes when I turn on this camera. Live streams, we didn't have any live streams the past couple weeks, so weren't able to talk about this. So, yes, the Symphonics line of speakers from Sonos sold at IKEA is going away. So they had the picture frame speakers, which is shown here. There are also some little bookshelf speakers, which were the most affordable Sonos speakers. I know some people who did Sonos surround sound systems back in the day would get those IKEA speakers as rear channels, because there was a time I think you could even get those for like $99 US, and the price has gone up. I think it was like $130 or something more recently, but still very affordable for Sonos speakers, and works as a rear channel, or just stereo speakers to listen to music. Like, I heard them in IKEAs. I never purchased them or tried them out myself. Other than that, they seemed like great little speakers, not on the caliber of something like an Era 100, but still a nice little speaker. But I think it's a really good idea for Sonos to pull out of that with IKEA. I think Sonos needs to focus on a lot of other areas that they're doing work in. And, well, I'm sure, like myself, I mean, I own plenty of IKEA furniture and I have plenty of Sonos speakers. I'm sure there's other people out there like me in the world in that respect. But I think Sonos seems to be moving more towards like a higher end market, which maybe doesn't overlap as much with IKEA. And I also think that, Sonos having sort of like the Era 100, 300, the Play 5 or whatever, the Sonos 5, which could become the Era 500 someday, like having this like more focused product line of then their TV sound bars, right? Like, that's enough for Sonos to do and do well. And I think having this whole separate line of speakers with IKEA was just, I think, a little bit too much for them to do. And hopefully they'll they'll find better uses for that time, making their app even better. So we'll see. Yeah, I agree, Stefan. I would love a 5.1 HomePod setup. The stereo pair of HomePod sounds really good. And I'm sure you could do some things with some rear HomePods again with the current AirPlay setup, but I'd love to see just like a real formal setup there from Apple. And I even think 4 HomePods, they could really, with their audio abilities, right? Apple's audio abilities, they could really make a cool system like that. I also think Sonos could make a cool system like that with, I think that the form factor that some companies have been doing, I think Sony and even AWOL Vision and a handful of other, like I think Ultimia has one, these 4 speakers in your room as home theater is a nice form factor and gives a lot of options. So we'll see. Hey, Graham, thanks for joining. Good to see you from the UK. Again, more because of the earlier time during the day we're live streaming. Some folks from Europe and UK can tune in. Oh, well, I've missed a few live streams too, Robert. I haven't been able to. I've had a lot of conflicts with the Thursday night time, part of why I'm moving it to Fridays now. And happy Saturday from Australia. I hope Saturday's a good day. I'm looking forward to it. And yes, Zane, thank you also for tuning in from far away, I know. So, hello. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. So, wow, that's dedication. Tuning in at 12 midnight, not 6 a.m. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for tuning in at midnight. I'm glad that's better. And hey, speaking of other people tuning in, happy Friday, Mr. Shane. I've been enjoying your behind the scenes of your garage project, Shane. It looks like quite the build out. Yes, and you're correct. A new time. So I moving my live streams to Fridays at 3 for the summer. I used to do something around this time in the past, and so it just works out better for me. And, as I mentioned at the front of the live stream, some people will love the new time. Other people won't be able to make it for one reason or other. So I know there'll be winners and losers with that. And I'm sorry if you really liked the Thursday night time. I just... recent weeks I had trouble making it work, and going into the summer, I think this will be a better time for me. So I want to show up regularly and have these weekly streams, which I missed a few. So yes, and so let's see. We have a couple other things I wanted to talk about in the news before maybe getting to some questions. So Matter 1.4.1 came out last week, and I haven't tried this and I haven't seen this covered anywhere, but I have a concern about Matter 1.4.1 that I think I haven't heard anybody address, and I hope they've figured this out, which is just that there's this whole idea. So first of all, there's a good benefit of 1.4.1 is the tap to pair, right? So if you're using Apple Home, if you use Apple Home for a while, there's a lesser used but still really handy way to set up Apple Home devices where you can use the NFC in iPhone to tap your iPhone on the device. It picks up the HomeKit code that way, so no need to scan or enter a code. And then from there, you can set up the device. And so Matter 1.4.1 is adding that for Matter devices. So if your setup device, like a iPhone or Android phone, has NFC, which a lot of phones do these days, you can tap on the device and then set up with the code, which is great. And it's especially nice there's certain form factors of devices where it's just kind of hard to put a code in an easy to read place, or they might have a code, but it's intentionally hidden, like on maybe a lock or something. And so it's just like, there's some times where having NFC tap to set up would be nice. But the other side of this is multi-device setup, right? So if you buy a 4-pack of bulbs, a 4-pack of, let's say, smart plugs, something else, you might want to set all those up at once and add them to your home. And it seems like, from what the reporting is, that this will happen in in a way that's very similar to adding, let's say, like a Matter hub to your smart home. So you add a Matter hub or an Apple Home hub in that case too, where then it'll take you through and add each one of the devices. And that could be fine, but I will often get like a 4-pack of something. If I'm doing that, I might not be using all of the items right away. And so, for example, I mean, like Nanoleaf sent me some of their Matter bulbs last year, and I only set up 3 of them in my living room because I only needed 3. But even if I could see myself in the same way buying that 4-pack from Nanoleaf and then deciding, oh, it comes with an extra bulb. I'm probably going to need a smart bulb for something down the road. I'll just put it in a box. And that's exactly what happened. Like my extra Nanoleaf bulb is sitting in a box in my closet. It's not being used. But if I'd set it up with my Apple Home with this whole multi-device pairing, then that one bulb would be showing as unresponsive, or like I'd have to hopefully be able to remove that one bulb and keep the other 3 in Apple Home. But then that's like an extra step and kind of annoying. I hope there's an option to set up these individually as you're doing it. No one's really talked about that, but that's just my concern is like, yes, I want to buy things in packs. I'm an American who shops at Costco. I love getting multiple packs of things for spending more money and getting a better deal, right? But it's also like kind of a thing that I hope Matter has figured this out, because that's just my concern. So I just want to bring that up as like something that I haven't heard much about, and hopefully we'll see as Matter 1.4.1 comes out in more devices and things, how that all shakes out. But I think some of that might be up to the implementation on, let's say, Apple Home's part to do that more than maybe the Matter standard, but I'm not sure. Let's see. So we covered the Apple accessibility and CarPlay. We covered Brian's article on accessibility. Actually, I don't think there's really anything else with the news. Oh, there is one other thing. Oh, yeah, and I didn't change my camera angle there, did I? So this is the article I was talking about. Jennifer Pattison-Tui over at The Verge had a really good article on Matter 1.4.1 that came out last week. So last thing that I want to get to in terms of news this week, which if you're a regular viewer of my live streams, you probably have seen me talk about these in the past. Now, I'm committing here. I'm not going to buy these, but you should know about them. And that is Sony have released their new WH000XM6 headphones. And a lot of the reviews sound, overall positive on them. So we'll see when they actually release the public next week. I think the earliest ship date is Tuesday, but it's an expensive price, $499, but $100 less in retail price, at least in the US, than the AirPods Max. I've been using the AirPods Max with USB-C. They're kind of my go-to favorite headphones right now that are over ear. AirPods Pro, I think, are still my favorite headphones overall. But if you're a regular viewer of the live streams, you know that I have a thing for headphones that I should maybe talk about more on YouTube, but I don't, because plenty of other people cover that, and it's generally not what my channel is about. But I kind of weave it into these live streams because it's something I'm excited about. But yeah, it's just nice to see a new model of this epic version of noise-canceling headphones from Sony. These are definitely considered to be one of the best, if not the best, in noise canceling. I have the XM5s, and one of the things that I'd say, if the XM6s, it seems like based on the reviews, are pretty similar in this regard. The big difference between the Sony WH000XM series of headphones and AirPods Max is the weight. These are so much lighter. So if you're wearing them all day, or if you tried AirPods Max and thought, oh, they clamp too hard on my ears or they're too heavy, these are like a feather compared to those. It's just so much lighter because it's made out of plastic and a lot of lighter materials. But they still feel pretty premium, at least the XM5s do. And I imagine these will as well. So if you're in the market for going on, let's say, a big trip this summer, in the market for noise canceling headphones, or, sometimes if you have small children like me, noise canceling headphones can be an important thing to have at home. The downside, of course, they have less integration with the Apple ecosystem compared to AirPods Max. But yeah, that can also be a benefit if you have something like a computer for work that's not signed into your Apple ID, or some other device that's not Apple, an Apple device. Then that could be a benefit, and also the weight. So the other thing that's cool about these, if you're annoyed by Apple's AirPods auto switching, which has gotten, I think, better over time, but still can be kind of annoying. These do not auto switch between devices, but they can also pair simultaneously to two devices, just like the XM5s. So you can have your iPhone, let's say, paired to it, and then like I have mine paired to my iPhone and my work computer, right? So I can put on my headphones and use them at my work computer, but then also like pull up a podcast on my iPhone and play that. And so that can be a nice side with the Sonys versus AirPods Max. So something to keep an eye out for if you're in the market for headphones. I would imagine these would be a pretty good investment, but still definitely an expensive price tag, especially at retail. Although also keep in mind, if you're thinking maybe about headphones for the holidays, I wouldn't be surprised if we see these go on sale. I mean, who knows in the current economy, but like usually headphones like this from Sony will go on sale in like 6 months to a year from now. So you might be able to score a deal on them over time. So, and got some good folks talking in the chat. Yes, the car doorbell chime is a unusual HomeKit setup. But yes, new time, John. Thanks for joining. This is the new time for live streams for the foreseeable future. It'll hopefully allow me to show up for you guys on a weekly basis, unlike the past where I haven't been able to. Yes, with the time change, almost missed it. Well, James, thanks for tuning in. Glad to see you here. And Shane has a really good question. Have you used the Beats Studio Pro? I just got some for my wife because she wanted over-ear headphones. I've never used them. Yes, actually. Here are my Beats Studio Pro. I would say these are really good for like workout, like other activities where you might want to sweat in them. I think they'll handle that better than AirPods Max. Also, it's just like less of an investment, right, than AirPods Max. So that can be nice. But you get a lot of the nice features that AirPods Max have with like auto device pairing and some of those like the little card that comes up when you pair them with your iPhone and like switching between devices. It doesn't do, I haven't used them in a while, but I don't think it does like auto device switching, but it'll do a lot of the like easy pairing to all your Apple devices signed into the same iCloud account. So that can be really nice. You can even use it with Apple TV, I think. So watching shows at night could be nice that way. So yeah, I think the Beats Studio Pros are really nice headphones. They're obviously not AirPods Max. They're not going to sound as nice as AirPods Max, but I mean, I think for the price, especially if you can find them on sale, I think Beats Studio Pros can still be a really good option. And the other cool thing about Beats Studio Pros is that you can get them on all these different colors and designs, and so sometimes the look of over-ear headphones from other companies, including Apple's AirPods Max, might not be the look you want, right? And Beats has done a good job making their headphones look fashionable and have all these celebrities and athletes wearing them, which makes them cool. So, yeah, I think the Beats Studio Pros are good headphones, but just within that context, right? So I would say like the Sony's WH000XM6 or 5s and the AirPods Max, that's like another league of headphones above the Studio Pros, which is, I think, more ideal for like you're going to use the headphones all day, every day. And one of the key features, as I'm talking out loud about this to mention here, that's different, a differentiation between something like the Beats Studio Pro and something like AirPods Max or Sony's is that those higher end headphones tend to also have better microphones. So if you're in a noisy place taking a lot of calls for, let's say, like a remote meeting for work or something, that's where I think the higher end headphones are really meant to be like, you wear them all day, you take a bunch of calls for work in them all day, and you block out all the noise around you in your like open office space all day with them. That's where those higher end headphones can make a difference. But these days as well, a lot of the meeting software does such a good job taking whatever you give it in terms of audio and making it sound good that I'm sure Beat Studio are probably just fine for a lot of, like Zoom and Google Meet and all those. They do wonders with the audio they get and making it sound good. So I don't think it's really something to worry about too much, but just something to consider about what's a difference between a Beat Studio Pro and an AirPods Max, something along those lines. Of what you would be paying for with the higher end and what you're trading off. Yeah, exactly. Workouts, this would be perfect. I would not want to sweat. I mean, sweat and mess up, pristine AirPods Max and being active in them, especially with how heavy they are. Also, just be more stress on your neck probably. So. 6:35 a.m. here. Well, thank you for tuning in, Robert. Yes, in Australia. So my kids let us sleep till 5:30 a.m. I can relate to that. Yeah, kids, especially on the weekends, they'll wake you up early sometimes, and it's just like, oh, I wanted to sleep in. So much for that. But hey, at least I love our kids, and it sounds like you do too. It's just like they're wonderful, but also, early on a Saturday morning, not fun sometimes. Hey, Lee, thanks for joining. So we've been going a little bit of time, covered all the news from this week. Again, I have this whole big server closet rewired my entire server closet with Unify equipment, and that's coming out soon. I've gotten in some of the posts. I've talked about a little bit on the last live stream I did about just like, I tried the Eero Pro 7 system just because I'm going back and trying Ubiquiti now. Doesn't mean that I think the Eero system is terrible or that I, stopped having problems I was having with Ubiquiti. Like, they're both great systems. They both have their downsides. And so just keep that in mind as a YouTuber, I might try stuff. And just because I stop using something that you use, it doesn't mean that I think it's a bad product, right? I try multiple things to try and give you guys the best, to give me the best understanding to tell you like what is right for you. And I think there's a lot of folks out there who watch my channel where Unify might be overkill and something like an Eero system is great. But there's also a lot of people who love the customization and all the fun that comes with a Ubiquiti Unify system. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. In the end of my live streams, I usually like to leave you with a video of something on YouTube that's not exactly smart home related, but I think is something that you should be aware of. And the one I'm going to leave you with today is a really good summary of a report that came in The Information, which is like an tech industry publication, kind of expensive to subscribe to, that covered a lot of Apple's internal struggles with Siri and just the things they've been going through. And it's a really great summary from Quinn Nelson over at Snazzy Labs. So pasting that in the chat here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so highly recommend. Go check out that video. Hopefully the link works in the chat when I share it. John, I have seen this with my various stereo pairs of HomePods I've tried over the years, where all of a sudden one of the HomePods will just stop working in the stereo pair. It's part of, it's just an annoying thing that I've faced too with those kind of speakers. So good luck resetting things, or turning things off, removing and re-adding, or unpairing and repairing the stereo pair, different things like that. Hopefully it works out. But okay, so Brian has some interesting ideas there in the chat too to check out, John. Yes, and it's a great video from Quinn. Go check it out. So, oops. Preview mode, back to live mode. Hopefully I didn't cut out there. Anyways, have a good one, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and see you soon. I got some exciting content coming and another live stream next week. Static IP is a good idea, John.